Come on up, guys. Come on up. While the guys are coming up, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. Broadfield Distributing. We're a distributor, which means we resell to dealers for a lot of the products you see here. PTZ Optics, LiveView, Wirecast, NewTek. And we use the products we sell to help educate people about our products. So every Thursday we do a liquid lunch show where our dealers can learn how to sell the products, what verticals they fit into. And every Tuesday we do a end-user facing show called Video Guys Newsday Tuesday that I host. That's about a half-hour program where we talk about technologies, products, maybe verticals, video for worship. Maybe it's on how to use NDI, an NDI wrap-up. We have a Ask Gary questions show. We'll also do shows specifically about new products that get introduced. So that's just a little bit about me and who I am and why I've been chosen to be a participant and a moderator on this forum. And we've got quite the group here, so I'm very excited. Okay, I'm going to go down the line and let each of you guys introduce yourself.
Matthew Davis, I'm the product manager for PTZ Optics.
Daryl Spangler, I'm the co-founder and CEO of StreamGear. We just launched the company actually yesterday and showed our product at a workshop earlier. I don't know how many had a chance
Great
to review.
reviews.
Yeah,
So you were the new product launch at the show.
Yes, we are.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well done. All right, next we have
I'm Michael
Mike.
Lisi. Yep. So I'm a solutions consultant and a technology evangelist with a company called Wolf Vision. We make basically an all-in-one streaming appliance that allows you to connect all of your other audio-video technology into it and then press one button and go live and stream it out.
And next we have Matt.
Matt Allard, product marketing manager for VizRT Group. You won't recognize that, but VizRT Group is VizRT and NewTek and NDI. And I've been doing product marketing, product management, content marketing for longer than a lot of you have been alive. And, I got in this in what we call digital media. Only when I started, it was called analog video.
Cool. I want to encourage you guys to interact between each other. I'm just going to launch the questions to try to guide you and try to keep you within the time frame we've been told we have. So our first discussion point is going to be the widespread adoption of AV over IP and how it will affect video streaming. And I want to let Matt start with that because he just introduced a brand new product that actually is going to be 100% IP based. So you're up, Matt.
Well, I don't want to, I don't want to make this an advertisement for NDI. Obviously, that's what we represent. But really what you're seeing is we've all been using IP for media for a long time, right? If you're using your phone, your iPad, if you've got a streaming service at home, what is that? It's IP. So IP for delivery has been around for a while, and of course it's only increasing. What's really changing the dynamic for lots of the people up here is that IP is now moving into the acquisition and the production. As networks get better, computers get better, software gets better, IP can really move across the entire media ecosystem.
Anyone else want to jump in on IP?
Yeah, just almost to piggyback right where you left off there. I mean, I think what's most exciting with IP video is you get to watch with technology as things slowly creep up for a while, and it's exciting to watch and fun to play with. But as soon as you start to get more things with software base and computers involved in networking, you start to see that slow growth just take off in incredible ways. The features that start to get added are things that you never really dreamed possible, and the ability to expand becomes affordable. It's just so incredible to see this beginning.
Daryl, you got anything? Oh, sorry.
No, you had all of them. Well, I think if you really boil it down and you consider that video is becoming ones and zeros, and all data we work with today is just ones and zeros, then suddenly video can become as ubiquitous and accessible as any other type of information you're sharing. So once we start converting our AV signaling into just data, that means that we can deliver the video anywhere that I've got something that can read the ones and zeros. And that suddenly becomes, in your car, it's decoding multimedia. When you walk into your kitchen and you're watching the soccer game and now there's a small monitor built right into your stove. Or, I don't know, somebody comes up with a really slick pair of augmented reality glasses, right? We're waiting for Apple to come up with something like this where I can just project a little bit of content right in the corner of your field of view. And since those glasses would assumably be connected to LTE or LTE 5G, I can be delivering AV multimedia content right into your field of view 24/7. And that can be really valuable information that gives you instructions of how to walk up the street and find your friend. But at the same time, I can just pop in a little commercial right there in the sidebar just to capture your attention. That's what's going to give you all those other free services. So I think once video becomes ones and zeros, everybody can participate on all of their devices. It also opens up the possibility of almost Hive media creation. So there's a whole audience here, and how many cameras, according to
Everyone's got
traditional-
one in their hand right now.
Exactly. And what does this interaction look like? Like right now, the majority of the content's being created by a handful of cameras and us talking on the stage. But those are all just data devices, and they all have multimedia as well. What happens is we start to aggregate that. So this is now being produced from all these different angles, and people are adding their own content into it in real time, and all that's getting captured and brought into the feed. What is it? It's video over IP. And so it makes sense that we would turn all of our AV signals into ones and zeros, don't you think?
Well, we like to say that IP is the last video standard.
Right?
Darryl, you got anything to add on that?
Basically, like they were saying, I think the biggest thing is that I see with the video over IP is access. I mean, now it's so simple to access the content. I mean, people are developing a lot of really special content, but before it was a lot harder with even the same organization or from one floor to the next. So that's where I see the biggest thing with that.
Yeah, and I think the traditional video was always outputs going into inputs and stuff having to be routed. Now all of a sudden, video in an IP world becomes a mesh. Everything sees everything, everything can talk to everything, and that opens up the cloud and the ability of different things to talk to each other, and it also allows us to move from a hardware, big iron-based world to a software, AI, machine learning, cloud-based world. And you guys are on cutting edge of some of that, so I'm just going to kick it over and say, there's different kinds of content aimed at different areas, and just share with your thoughts from what I just said.
Well, actually, for what you just said, it actually brought up one other point we should talk about that is about to factor in what you just said. It also affects the workflow, tremendously affects the workflow. So I was working with a community-based, like a city video production, through the city media streaming department. And they wanted to be able to take all of the games that were taking place, all of the high school sporting events, and instead of having to go and locally record that content and then come back and bring it back to shop and produce it, they want to stream all the live cameras from every sports facility and every high school and such right back to one central production facility. And from there, then, they can do the rest of their workflow. So they want to mux multiple signals together. They want to start to key in the graphics and the logos. They want to window process it and add in all those transitions and fades. Suddenly, video production gets really interesting as well, because you're talking about what are some other technology now that's going to tie into it. You just think about what is the traditional workflow, what it used to be like. It used to be, this device lets me switch between two signals, and this device lets me put a little logo. And this device lets me put two of them on the same screen. And now,
It's all there, right?
it can all just happen in the same workflow. And we did a presentation earlier with our Synapse device. I had a live camera coming in as I wirelessly mirrored content and annotated on it and recorded it and streamed it all at the same time. This becomes easy.
But it's not just the process, it's the people, right? So it's you people sitting here, the people that are watching this, 10-year-olds, right? All of this, okay, it's great to talk about technology, but it's really only effective if it brings more people to the party. If everybody becomes a producer, if lots of people become the talent, right? That opens up more and more people to tell their story, whatever that story is, right? We can all judge whether we like the story or not. But, that's really the end result of the combination of IP and technology is opening up the door for more people to come to the party.
So how do you guys think content will evolve in the near future, given we're transitioning to an IP video-based world?
I think one of the things we're going to start to see emerging is actually a little less production going on. I think we're going to start to see where you're allowing the end user to start to produce more of their own content, and not necessarily maybe controlling a PTZ camera, but more so that rather than somebody else deciding when that scene change is going to occur, that they're the ones that get to decide when that scene change occurs. We all like to ingest content in different ways, and we actually have the capability now to achieve that. People can choose how they want this to be portrayed in the message that they're consuming. And I think, going a step further, I was being told recently about somebody was watching some shows with their child, and there was a dinosaur that popped up on the screen, and the kid asked, what dinosaur is that? They wanted to know more about it. And unfortunately, this was not on something like YouTube or Facebook, and as a result, there wasn't a way to reach out and ask that question. But it starts to bring the idea in that this younger generation expects when they receive this content, they should be able to interact with somebody. They should be able to ask questions about that content. So I think we're going to start to see the content itself and the way we interact with it change based on a much younger generation that we need to be listening to.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think one of the things that brings in is stuff like AI, deepfake engines, real-time effects, the ability to know what people are into, to know which ad to serve them. Some of it's a little big brothery and scary, but I don't think it's really in that direction. It's the opposite. It's data-driven in creating these things where you're not really being spied on, but everything's listening and talking to everything. And I think it's very cool, but it also opens up some... George, you're shaking your head. Jump in.
I was going to say, the thing about deepfake, that really scares me because I see it opening up Pandora's box. I mean, the lawsuits that are going to happen. I mean, pretty much a lot of people, or most professional people, have their faces, images, already copyrighted. So the copyright laws, infringements, it's going to be crazy.
It's true, but then we as producers all want something that's going to say, oh, I know your face, so when you walk on the stage, cut to you on the camera. When you start talking, I know your voice, cut to you. So the very tools we want are unfortunately going to encourage very smart people to build things that we're kind of afraid of. It's not like, aliens, but Terminator. But
there's a practical side of this, and I think, it gets a lot more clear the way you described it, that, okay, on the one hand, our technology is advancing so that it's so much easier to produce good-looking content now. The cameras automatically filter and lens it, and the zoom and the auto tracking, and I was just playing with the new iOS that I could launch a FaceTime video call with my kids and look like a giraffe and talk to them, and you know what I'm talking about. So on the one hand, technology is improving, so it's so much easier to produce interesting content. Like I'm talking as a panda bear right now. Isn't that interesting? On the other hand, what the community is expecting, their standards, in some ways, are dropping. Because just like with video decoding like MP3, the video files and audio files would say, well, when I'm listening to MP3s or I'm watching low-grade video on my YouTube on my iPhone, this is really bad image quality. But the world goes, good enough. Good enough. And in that demand for, I like this content creator. I like what they say. Every time they go online, I just want to hear what they have to say. And I don't care if it's badly produced. I want to talk to them as they're walking down the street. So my standard of what that needs to look like seems to be dropping. And then you add that last layer in of, I was talking to Ariel after you did the tour together, and he said that he's been filming a lot of his tours around different places with 360 cameras. And so the audience can pick and choose what they're looking at. So there's a need for more content, and it's easier to produce it, and you don't have to produce it so fancifully. And now the end user the consumers can pick what they're looking at in the meantime. My question is, how are we going to sort through all the data? Because there's going to be so much more of it.
Yeah,
right?
but think about, and several of the panels touched on this earlier too, in the thing of data. Yes, if I'm Disney, if I'm Google or whatever, I'm going to live and die by data because I'm trying to serve a huge market, right? That's going to be the opportunity for the little people to do something different. Right? You can see where the big trends are. Yeah, and everybody wants this type of topic and that type of topic. Those are going to be the entry points, the verticals that smaller producers are going to be able to enter in and say, hey, I can service a market that the big guys don't care about because it's too small. That's an interesting thing for more people to be involved.
That's a great point. I think, PTZ cameras is an example. A few years ago, PTZ cameras were something that only enterprise level people could use. Now they're affordable there for everyone. And what we've seen has happen is what the big guys can do. And it's what I can do as a little guy. And one of the things that we find is challenging for our customers, people we talk to, is I have the budget to buy a lot of cool stuff. What I don't have is enough human beings or the money to pay the human beings to produce it. So I think a lot of the things we're talking about are productivity advancements that let maybe a 1 or 2 man show produce something that looks like it was made with 4 or 5 or 6 guys. So we need that to improve for us, the people in the room, to make it more practical. But by the same regards, the big guys are going to take that to a whole nother level. And that's where I think you start looking at what some of these esports leagues are doing.
Now, do you want to go off the deep end with me for a minute?
Let's
Can
do
I
it.
throw out a wild prediction?
Go for it.
All right, I'm just going to put together a couple pieces. You can tell me if you see the same puzzle pieces I see adding up to. So you have people that really like celebrities, and everyone's becoming a celebrity through social media streaming, okay? So you match that, and then on top of it, you have a lot of these dating engines, Match.com and such, where they can take a profile of your character, and they can find what kind of people you would like, okay? So I can kind of create a personality that you're very prone to like, and then let's go ahead and add deepfake, that I can use AI to create responses that I know you're going to like, and I can make that AI look the way you want it to look. So, and then you take a lonely world where people spend the most of their time like this. So you combine these 4 things, and it creeps me out because I don't know how much further it will be before you take a personality profile, they map the kinds of topics, conversations that would interest you, the kind of responses that would attract you. We've got with quantum computing, all these ridiculous algorithms, it's not that difficult now, obviously, from these dating sites to go, hey, if you like sports, then you're this kind of character, then when you ask a question about sports, you're going to want someone to respond like this. So I'm going to give you that response, and I'm going to let the voice be your favorite consumer streaming character that you like, and the face and such, and so it feels like you are having an interaction with your favorite celebrities.
It sounds like a
personally.
Philip K. Dick novel.
It sounds crazy, doesn't it? And interestingly enough, though, I mean, so much of the conversation is about monetization. People are creating a product that they can sell. How much would you sell your face for? If you had 1,000 people that really like following your feed, and they're interacting with a virtual version of you, are you cool with that? How much would you charge per? I mean, I could see people basically getting to the point where it's like, I just want to interact with my favorite celebrity all the time. And I can now. I mean, right? It's crazy, but I don't think we're more than 5 to 10 years out from that. And I just don't know what the world looks like when everyone's just interacting with AI and through the personalities that they like to be around. It just freaks me out. So anyway, I'm coming back off the deep end.
As long as it's not a Clippy situation, I'll be fine with it.
Yeah.
Daryl, you had some thoughts?
No, actually, I think we're closer than 5 years away. I mean, that's why I said like that. The whole thing about being augmented, the video and live like that. I mean, there's going to have to be a lot of tools. Right now, they really can't per se sense it. I mean, I was reading earlier today. They said, well, it's coming, but eventually servers are at the point they're going to have to stop it because I can't see it really happening.
One of the things I'll point out, because we went off the deep end, but we're a group of people trying to create content here for ourselves, is I think it also brings back the flip side, which is the authenticity of someone really doing something live that they love to a smaller group where they're not trying to be a billionaire, the most famous person, but you found something. Maybe you're a train enthusiast. Maybe you love a certain breed of cats or a certain game you play or whatever, a board game. And I do think that when you produce something live and you really care about that authenticity, I don't think machines are ever going to be able to fake. Now, I know you'll tell me I'm wrong, but by the same regards, I think that's one of the reasons why I think people watch live shows now, why I think there's an opportunity for everyone in this audience, because it's you being out there, or your brother-in-law is doing it and you're doing the production, whatever it is. It's a live person, and in a world where we don't make connections in person anymore, that's a way to connect with people, to be part of a group, as some of the other groups talked about. But the other thing that I think is interesting for us as content producers is we don't know what people are going to be watching this on in the future. You talked about augmented glasses. If you read your logs, you find out that some people watched your show one week all on their phones, and the next week everyone's on a computer. Now, I don't know if everyone was at lunchtime and traveling or what have you, but that's one of the challenges we have too, because we have to make content that looks good on whatever device people are going to be watching. So what are your thoughts about that?
Critical. I mean, critical from a standards point of view, technology, infrastructure point of view, as well as, a product feature, all the stuff that we're doing here. If you're not planning for acquiring from mobile and making distribution to mobile, I don't see your future. I mean, genuinely, I don't see your future. And I'm standing up here as a guy who's hasn't bought into the mobile generation. I mean, it's like I use it as a tool.
You include
I
tablets
don't have a
with that,
BlackBerry.
right?
I did.
A trackball?
I used to. No, I use it very much as a tool, not a lifestyle choice. That's my differentiation. But yet, having traveled all over the world, I mean, we're sitting here in New York, but I have literally been places you don't want to go to. The just preponderance, the proliferation of mobile technology, entire parts of the world have skipped whole generations of technology, and they never had landline phones.
Right.
Yet they all got mobile, right? You cannot ignore that, right? You like it or you don't like it. You cannot ignore it if you're a content creator. Mobile has to be part of your mission, and you have to find the right tools, the right technologies to support you in being able to do that.
Well, and it's crazy. You look at a lot of these developing countries; they don't even have the infrastructure for it yet. So I mean, we're talking about well over a sixth of the world's population isn't even online yet to start streaming and consuming content. So there's
But they
talk about
will.
new markets opening up. The other thing I'm wondering about, you remember the Truman Show?
Yep.
So how far do you think it's going to go? Okay, you got home automation, and people are putting cameras all over the place. Do you think at some point people will say, look, I mean, there are Survivor or like, what was The Real World from MTV a decade ago? Do you think people are just going to put cameras all over their house and just live continually streaming their whole life?
Some will.
There are people who do that. I don't get it, but there are people
Is that
who do
the
If you do
future
it, good for you.
of
But
streaming? You'll always be online
in real life, 24/7.
You don't think so?
Like if you have a favorite person and you watch and those cameras watch that person all day long, 24/7. That might be.
You think it'll be produced? The
Right.
idea is that they'll just follow them with a camera all day long.
Yeah, but it'll be cameras in different locations and might follow this one person. You type in this person and it'll follow that face, that person all the time wherever they go.
He said, yeah.
Camera will turn on,
Crazy.
that camera
Wow.
will beep, and then that other camera will turn on.
Can't turn it off. You literally can't turn it off anymore. You can turn. Yeah, it happens in China right now. It's
Yeah.
true. Where we're using the inbuilt infrastructure.
What about London? London is the most
Oh,
videoed
okay.
city in the world.
Yeah.
Okay, so is that monetizable? Is that something you would monetize? So what if people
No, it's
install
not about-
cameras around and it says, "Hey, I'll make you a deal for $30 a month. Whenever you walk
got
down the
so
street,
far off the
the
deep
cameras will
end.
pick
I
you
love
up."
Well, it would be if the government wanted to monetize it, right? Because those cameras that are sitting in a place like London, not to pick on them because it's all over the world, that's government run, right? All those camera feeds. But could they make some money by farming that data feed out? I think you get a lot of legal privacy issues. And if you spend any time in Europe, the Europeans are a lot more concerned about their privacy than they are in this country.
Yeah, but if you use a non-disclosure or something like that, some kind of agreement that you say, you know what, you can follow me if you pay me X amount of dollars per month,
Right.
and
I
yeah,
don't-
you can
that-
see my everyday
Right,
life.
because that's me making a choice to change my privacy, right?
For surveillance.
Right, but it's my choice, not the government's choice.
Right.
Opting in for a discount on my taxes. Is that?
But my thing is like me as a subscriber. Let's say I find you interesting and I want to follow you all day. I pay a subscription of $30 a month, and then there'd be maybe 15, 20, 30, maybe 100, 200 people that do the same. You know, they're monetizing on you, but you're also getting paid for that. Some people might buy into that, and it's very easy because guess what? There are cameras everywhere, literally everywhere you go. Here in New York City, London, China, etc. And I think that might be something in the future.
There's a new app.
It's already happening though for motorsports, for sporting events. A lot of the leagues around the world have subscription sites that allow you to get content, whether it's your favorite rider, favorite
Right.
driver, whatever. Those things are already doing. So it's a logical step to what you're saying on a personal level.
I guess I'll start to chime in a little bit with this. You guys have mentioned a few things along this line. There is an Android app, I believe, that still exists that allows multiple people to go to a single event. As they record their content, it automatically composites it itself. It produces the content so that in the end, anybody who's decided to contribute their content gets access to this fully documented. You know, I went to a concert, guess what? I recorded one song. Well, everybody else there recorded one song, and between all of us, we've got the entire concert now. So this starts to play into, you know, you don't need the security cameras to do it. You've got everybody around you who's recording all of this stuff already.
Which kind of circles us back to where we started, which was we all have mobile phones that we're watching, but it also means every single person with that phone could be a part of your production. And where does that open you up to when it's everyone says, hey, everyone coming here, you know, we're going to use you as part of this. So it's truly interactive on a video level, not just on a chat level. And we're going to be there sooner than you
Well,
think.
look at the sites that do royalty-free imaging, right? So I will go produce video content, and I'll post it on the site, and then you can get access to it if you pay me. Well, think about how that would work from a content production standpoint, like a crowd content. So, all right, we did this event. It was a Springsteen concert. Everybody upload the best of your stuff, and if we use it in our videos, we'll give you a portion of it. So now you're all part of the show. You're all producing it. Whoever gets the best pictures, the best video camera, will just sponsor.
I think like a decade ago, the Beastie Boys did that at a concert where they gave a bunch of people cameras and that footage came. But now think of a world where people could register for your event, where they say, I'm going to be a camera person participating, and now you have the technology either through the cloud or whatever where, you know, where that video can be brought in now. You can get a whole different perspective on the world. Now, what it opens up for privacy and people doing stupid stuff, that I can't control. But by the same regards, you know, all of us are going to become simultaneously consumers and producers of content in the future. And that's a really crazy leap in the world. And I think we're super close to that. That, I think, is around the corner. Any other thoughts? One of the topics we wanted to talk about, I know it was talked about earlier, was esports and the effect that esports is having on, as a driver of technology for people to produce technology towards esports, making esports better, more consumable, what have you. So let's talk a little about how we see the future of technology specifically towards esports.
So I'll start this one just because I happen to have a fair amount of experience across 3 companies as this has evolved, right? So I've actually gone into the field and done esports case studies with customers. And one of the things to think about is, and I know we had the esports panel up here before, was, oh yeah, we're talking about sports and we're talking about events. So I just finished a case study at Staffordshire University, which has 2 campuses in the UK, and they're the largest computer science related design place in the UK. So about 3 years ago, they started an esports program, and you might be thinking, oh, well, you know, that must be about, you know, how do you do esports and all this kind of stuff. It's a business degree, okay? It's a business degree. Because, you know, not you go through this and you learn some technical things, but what you really learn about is things like event management, about rights, about legal issues, about all these kinds of things. So even if the rest of your career isn't in esports, you've picked up these capabilities as a student, right, to do these other things related, you know, event management. That's a big part of their curriculum. So it is going to be a huge driver. It isn't going to be a huge driver necessarily in just one direction, I guess is my point. You need to think about it as a much bigger picture. And education, and this was talked about earlier in other panels, is a huge thing. Esports that is starting literally at the middle school level now. It's a way to get students engaged. They may not have a long period of time in it, but it got them engaged into technology, into the acumen of a discipline and a focus and everything else. And to me, that may be the most important thing that comes out of this.
I got to
Great
lay
point.
down one other foundational thing. So I just had a conversation with Emo, who was here at the summit. He just recently left, and he told me that the Minnesota Vikings has just invested $20 million in their first esports team. It has nothing to do with football, but the same ownership just invested in an esports team, and there's 20 other like that. So, okay, now this is a professional sporting scenario, and all these teams are going to be investing, you know, tens and millions of dollars. And when we go to sporting events, what do? We want to spectate. And the only limitation is, you know, the laws of physics. Like, you can only hit that guy so hard, but if it's a video game, no, even though that disappears. So seeing that it will be full-on professional sports, big dollar professional sports, what does that effect have all the way on down? So you look at the farming that begins to happen with all other sports, from college to high school and such. Okay, I mean, it already began to open up. He mentioned something I thought was really great. He goes, they can't recruit, college, athletes financially for the sports that are accredited or recognized by the actual collegiate associations. But esports doesn't fall into that category. So what they're doing is they're giving scholarships for them not to play basketball, which they do play
Engineering
basketball.
schools, full
but
rides.
I'm going to give you a really healthy scholarship to play video games on my esports team because it's not an official sport. You know what this looks like. So is that not going to drive that from the top down? I mean, the highest level sponsorships and the marketing from the large companies that want to have their commercials on the esports championships all the way down to, junior leagues and
It's already past
K-12,
$1 billion annually.
Yeah.
The business of esports is
They
already.
outdraw the Super Bowl now. Any more?
Sure. I mean, I guess I'll just piggyback on the end of that by saying the beauty here is there isn't as big of a barrier to entry. You want to do, esports gaming yourself or even just streaming yourself live with the game, guess what? It's a webcam, your computer you already own because you're gaming, and you've likely already got internet because you're gaming.
You don't have to play.
Yeah.
No, seriously. In other words, if you go to these events or the educational part, whatever, there's people doing analysis. There's people doing live color, all the other stuff that you expect from other sports. So you don't necessarily have to be the guy hitting the keys or the lady hitting the keys. There's lots of ways to participate.
you can be like Mac, like, doing the shoulder massage and the spit cup kind of thing. You're doing.
Hang in there, kid. If you want, hang in there, kid. You're gonna be a star. Watch the left hook.
I think one of the takeaways of people who are here to learn about how to make money and do streaming potentially as a job opportunity is there's an opportunity out there in esports. You heard these guys. It's happening at middle schools. Well, they have kids who want to play these sports. You can be the person who teaches them how to let their team play a team from another city, who lets them play the sport and let Grandma watch and Aunt Ethel and Phoenix watch. And this is something that's going on right now that is an opportunity for everyone in this room to try to learn where they fit in that niche if you're looking to create something that becomes a career, an opportunity, a business model for you. And I think one of the things about live streaming that I think is so cool is it doesn't have a high barrier to entry. The barrier is your knowledge, you being that knowledgeable person in your community for whatever it is. It could be esports, it could be a local sports team or a local sports league. It could be that there's something heating up really big in the town council meetings and you could bring a camera in there and be that guy. That's the way you get started in this. If you think you've got this $1 million idea from the beginning, you're probably wrong. What you've got to do is get your feet wet, learn how to do this, pick up your trade, find out something you're good at. But the production side of it, that knowledge has a value. People want to see, and I know you talked about it, like that blurry video. If it's the only way you can see it, it's okay. But I guarantee if there's flipping through your phone and you see one guy's got it really clear with graphics and the audio is fantastic, the other one's blurry and muddled, which one do you think you're going to watch for 15 minutes, 20 minutes?
That's right. Have any of you been to the Void yet? So it's a new esports arena, basically. I mean, it's the next big thing. So it's virtual reality, but they're building a physical environment that matches the video game that they're seeing. So now the players are moving around and seeing and experiencing virtual reality, but they're completely untethered. And what's also interesting is there's a tactile element. So if you see a button in the game and you reach your physical hand out and touch the wall in front of you, you'll feel a button there. So it's really blending real world physics with video gaming, but you start to stream that out. I mean, I actually see there will be, I think that can replace movie theaters soon because you'll be experiencing the movies instead of watching them. But then I could see arenas being built where teams of players are actually running into a stadium.
But to circle that back around, you know where that technology started? Teaching surgeons. No, I'm absolutely certain that the most advanced virtual technology type stuff, including tactile control, was developed originally to start surgeons and train other surgeons remotely, including streaming, with the tactile approach. So if you're doing visual surgery, you go in and you want to know how the pressure is back on your hands to be invasive, wherever it is you're doing. And so it's actually morphed into other things such as the gaming environment. But it brings up the point that all of these things are morphing and blending, and there's all kinds of different opportunities, you know, whether it's the entertainment side of it, but also a lot of very practical things. You know, being open government, you touched upon that, is another area. But all of this is blending. And another thing that's blending is, you know, we talk, you know, this is a streaming thing, right? But I don't think anybody should get carried away that produced content's going to go away. It's not. The percentages are going to change, absolutely. But if you want to be a content person and you want to be successful, like people talked about earlier, oh, I want to be a content service for this small business or this large business or whatever. Almost all these people are going to require some percentage of both. And we're seeing hybrids, aren't we? We're seeing pre-recorded content with live segments stuck into them. Or we're seeing live segments, but they need a pre-recorded segment. It's all blending. So don't think that you're just going to be successful if you want to be that content person, just doing live or just being recorded. You're going to have to do both. And that's both an opportunity and a challenge, right?
And you have to manage your subscriber base. You have to be a
But
customer
that's
relationship
a great point too, because if you're making a 1 hour live video, that doesn't mean it can't be a 15-minute, a 5-minute, or a 1 minute, a series of 1 minute teaser clips. I think people mentioned that before. So it's really content creation. It's not just live video. And I know, like, we shoot our show as a live show, but 100 people watch it, but we'll have thousands of people download it to watch it. And I think you get that on, like I said, it seems more authentic when you're live and real, as talking to someone, not as polished. I think there's something to be said for that, but there's still something to be said for editing it down and making it really what people want to watch, is that blending of content. One of the new technology areas that we're going to talk about a little bit is 5G and how we think that's going to affect the world. You watch the Verizon commercials, you think this is, around the corner. Clearly, it's going to take some time, but that horizon of a 5G world, what are your thoughts on that and how it's going to affect content?
You mean I wasn't emphatic enough the first time about mobile? Right? No, seriously, this is just the next logical step that's all coming. What it's going to do is just a lot of what you have to plan for in terms of your streaming and output is limited by, that you're going to get some bandwidth restrictions down the line somewhere before that person is actually wanting it or watching it. What it's really going to do is allow you to do a lot higher quality and a lot more diverse type of content because you've got that pipe.
Well, and you have that speed. And so I think you can't really disassociate 5G LTE from cloud and cloud-based services. So right now, the reason why our smartphones are as big as they are is they're still doing a lot of computing power. And so I'm limited by its resolution and how much it can do because I can only get so much computing power in that little device, and I can only charge it so much. But when we have really fast internet, really blazing fast throughput, then I don't need to be doing processing on my device. All I need to do is have a modem, a really fast router basically in there that's reaching out to some server, a supercomputer in Google's or Amazon's, ranks, and all the processing will be done there. This is just a lightweight modem. And so a couple things happen now. First, like you said, the quality of what I can produce now goes through the roof because I can render things and do processing that I could never do with a handheld device. I don't have to carry the power supplies for all that and all the tripods. Now I'm just routing that content up to the cloud and having it run through automatic production and then stream back out. The second thing is that really paves the way for the wearable stuff that I was talking about earlier. So now I can, instead of having a big, ugly, bulking HoloLens on my head, it can be a really thin frame pair of glasses with heads-up display in them because all it's really doing is a pico projector to shoot something in my field of view and a high-speed antenna to get data to and from it. And so then the last thing I'll throw in is you've got geolocation, or what's the geospatial? Where, like with HoloLens, with Microsoft, you can you can see something in through your field of view and then manipulate it simply by putting your hands in the air in front of you. Kind of like the Iron Man approach. But you connect that into it, and now I can visualize any data I want, wherever I am, and be able to interact with it, and yet there's no real computing power, not too much, in the actual device itself. And so these wearables could become, I think we'll see just a massive revolution of wearables.
Maybe you're less prone to step into the bus.
You will be so distracted. Maybe you'll get like an alert, but you'll be watching some really, really good content and then get hit by the bus. pretty
And
much.
the bus will be on the same network, so they'll see you coming.
That's right. Hopefully it's a Tesla bus. It'll stop ahead of time.
I'm at we got about 6-7 minutes left, so I want each of you to just give some last thoughts to the audience. I'm going to let you start, Daryl. Just anything you want to say.
Yeah, no, we were actually talking about the 5G and stuff like that. When we were developing our company and the products, that actually kind of made us move a shift more to having technology available on your phone. Because the way we saw that, I mean, with that extra bandwidth that you're going to have, it's just going to really change the way people are doing streaming. We think that, you know, utilizing your phone or having add-ons to your phone is really going to be the future.
So if I had to lay any final guesses, I'd be starting to bet that we're going to start to see the idea of cameras change, not just how we've talked about here, with it being mobile devices being a part of the large thing, but the cameras, in theory, should be starting to make your life as a producer substantially easier. There's a lot of things that you do in production that are repetitive to some degree. The camera should be able to accommodate that so you can focus on a lot more important details in what you're trying to produce. And I think you're going to start to see that intelligence coming in with more of these AI, whether it's actually baked into the device itself or it's, you know, leveraging 5G to get this global intelligence. I think you're going to start to see the idea of cameras really changing.
Mike? Not too deep.
Yeah, just run. Just run and hide. That's no. I think it'd be a good time if you have the time and you're young to get into software development and electrical engineering. Because I mean, this whole new world is software. It's out there, it's running on virtual servers or in the cloud, and it's making all these things possible. The panda and the giraffe head on my FaceTime call, and allowing you to stream content in from your device on your phone in the middle of the concert, and the e-commerce site that lets me pay you for the picture you took. It's all in that software realm. And there will be hardware, but it keeps getting twice as fast and half as expensive. I just think it's going to be overwhelming. I don't know how any human being is going to be able to process it all soon enough.
It's hardware, but it's other people's hardware. It's in the cloud.
Exactly,
It's not your hardware. Matt?
Yeah, I mean, software-defined production is clearly where the innovation is going to continue to happen. But I guess my final comment won't be about technology at all. You know, if you're in the content creation space at all, and even I, as technical, weird shit that I know is, I go out and direct and produce case study videos and things like that. And so my final word is, you're not going to be successful if you're in the content space if you don't know how to tell a story.
Yep.
Don't, whether it's sharpening your writing skills. I mean, you might think, what the hell are you talking about writing in a streaming conference? But I tell you, your content is only going to be as good as how effective you are at putting your ideas together in a way that's going to attract your viewers, right? That is the quintessential skill beyond learning how to this bit or that bite or whatever, is really paying attention to your story. It's great if you've got the passion. Now you got to organize it.
Great comment. Any questions from the audience? We throw the mic to you, the big green mic. Okay, I guess we did a great job, guys. Thank you very much. I guess we're ending a little early. And just compliments to Paul and the Stream Greeks team on doing a great job. Great job with this event. Got a question. It's never too late. Talking to the magic box.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, my name is Ranen, and I run a consulting firm, Exora Tech Consulting Services Private Limited. And we are working with many higher education institutes, and there are many of those institutes located in remote areas, like in rural areas. And even those institutes also, though many students cannot come and join. And those institutes, like in USA, in developing countries, they also run some community program, or like a short term, 1 month, 2 months, and they're getting good support from the central government to run online programs, live streaming. And they are, since the internet connectivity is very bad in rural area, It's not that easy. So address those things, I was talking with the live view, the guy who presented that can your device work in with 2G technology, like a 3G technology, because it's not like Canada or USA or other developed country where you can easily get a 4G technology anywhere. In most of the developing country, remote area, even for sending an email, it takes 1 hour or more. You forget about this live streaming, but the government is encouraging that type of thing there. So how you can address?
I mean, it has to be store and forward. So you record it, and then that file can be uploaded as long as the internet takes to do it. But the nice thing is we can start backing off the frame rate. We can back down the resolution. And as long as you have audio, even if I'm only giving you, lower frame rate, you should
sorry
still
to
be able
interrupt
see.
you. Like we are using, we try to innovate as much as possible. Like we are using some open source platforms. Then we are using for your this learning management, some open source softwares for video streaming, and it was not working, or people not accessing. We are using like a Google Classroom, and people not accessing. No one accessing that. Because why? Because no one can access that, whatever the internet connectivity. So how you can address those problems?
I also have to ask, how long are your recordings? Are you doing like hour long, like long recordings? 'Cause
No,
the
it's
other thing is
even
very
even
short-
for like 2 minutes, 1 minute. Those type of video also people cannot access. Means that type of bad connectivity.
Yeah, you got to shrink that file as much as you possibly can.
Yeah,
while
we
understanding that
means
the
we
guy
are
doesn't have a
using
great
all
computer to
possible,
undo it.
all best possible, the open source, the live streaming, this learning management platform. We are using Google because everywhere means Google's platform, Google Classroom is much better, and also it's free. And then also no one can access the videos, no one can do the streaming.
Yeah, so one of the things you have to look at, because I've done online training for learning management systems, right? So one of the things that people get confused about sometimes is that the learning management system is basically a repository for your courseware, right? However that's presented.
Live lecture.
That's what I'm getting to. Just because you want to do video, your learning management system isn't necessarily the place it needs to host. Almost all good learning management systems will go out and use a different place for video. Here in this part of the world, it's Vimeo, places like that as a back end.
No, actually, whatever you're saying, it's okay when it's already recorded. Means what our company doing? Our company, we tie up with institute like for 1 year contract we sign. And every week we spend 2-3 hours with the student or the faculty member, and we help them in different area for product development, technology development. We guide them every week. So we tried with Skype, we tried with WhatsApp, we tried with Google Classroom, we tried with everything, all the learning management, because like 1 or 2 hours every week we spend with them, and it's a live streaming. We present something, we sort videos, we help them for fine tuning their product development and other things. And it's doing every week like 2-3 hours with each of the institute, and that thing happening. We tried everything from Skype, Google Classroom, all possible learning management software possible for streaming, video streaming, but I not got anything. And then what happened means whatever you're saying, we started sending an email after recording the video, after posting that video in YouTube or Vimeo and other platforms.
How many people are you trying to serve with this content? How many locations is?
In India, we have a client in we have a client in 26 states, and outside of India, we have a client like we have this type of problem in Mauritius. We have this type of problem with clients in like Middle East, is okay because their connectivity is much better, like Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, others. But when you work with clients in like even Nigeria, Ghana, like in Zambia, no one can access that.
Sounds like the only thing, I mean, we just keep shrinking the bandwidth down more and more. So then, okay, you email the PowerPoint and you have an audio conference call and they record it there.
No, it's like we are guiding, we are guiding real time. You do that thing, this is a business model canvas, and we do every week for 2-3 hours with all our institute that we have a long-term contract with them.
But you need to stream it to them.
But are they using constant bit rate or adapted bit rate? Because that can make a huge difference, right?
I think we need to lobby the local government to make some infrastructure investments.
I was going to say, unfortunately, if the infrastructure can't support the video, there's no way to get there. Even with, you mentioned the guys at LiveView with cellular bonding, you still have to have two cell towers to bond to. If the cell towers aren't there, it doesn't matter.
Computer associates, we understand those things, the technology behind VoIP and others.
Or
We
when-
tried everything, but the result is zero end result.
But once you create it once, the other thing you can do, and this may be the only thing you can't do, and it sounds crazy. Once you create it once, you stick it in an envelope and you mail it to them. And now it's all over the sea. It's there, and now they can distribute it locally. That's probably. I mean, if there's just no throughput to get the data, then there's no option.
The other thing in taking that, thinking a little bit further is maybe what you've got to do is physically get it there, and then they distribute it locally within their building where they probably have the bandwidth. So you could have 20 classrooms get it via it being served locally, downloaded and served locally versus trying to serve everyone over
Actually,
the cloud.
most of the institute in developing countries, they have a problem with the fund. They don't have fund. So whatever we are doing, like guiding them remotely, that way their cost becoming low because that's something non-academic. And they don't have fund for even for academic purpose. Most of the institute, they pay salary to their faculty member after 60 days, after 90 days. So that type of problem we're having in all the developing countries, education institute. So they cannot have luxury to take help of an external agency and do those things in their premises. They don't have money.
You've stumped the panel.
Only thing I can throw out there is long-range wireless, 20 miles, 30 miles, 50 miles, where guess what? You become your own content delivery network.
Unfortunately, he has to travel further distances than that. But thank you very much. Good problem. Bad problem that we can't solve, but a real problem. Anyone else have any questions, or are we going to wrap this thing up? All right. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you very much to Paul.